Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of 7 Days to Sunday as we get you set for the Buffalo Bills resumption of the season following their bye week. I'm Zig Fracassi, of course, from SiriusXM NFL Radio, SiriusXM Sports, Western New York native, and joined as always by my buddy, of course, former Tulsa standout and Hall of Famer and versatile lineman with the Bills during his playing days, his great career that he was. My guy, Mr. Jerry Ostroski. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. I feel bad that I took you away from watching the awful Bruins tonight.
No, actually, you're doing me a favor. Yeah, after the 3-0 start, fool's gold, they've lost 4 in a row, and of course, Brad Marchand returning to Boston on Tuesday night. But you may actually be doing me a favor. So, all right. Maybe a little time to digest, take a deep breath, what have you. Bill's still 4-2, still in a decent enough frame of mind in terms of being in the division race, being in the playoffs. Have you decompressed yet and tried to make some sense of the first 6 games, Jerry?
Yeah, I have. I think, Zig, this has been a weird time this last 3 weeks. And obviously coming off of 2 losses into a bye week doesn't make it any better. Bills Mafia, the fan base has been ruthless. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody, there's a long list of people that need to be fired, replaced, traded, acquired. It's been interesting. But, I think the biggest thing with this, Zig, is when you look at the Bills and we've had defensive struggles for a while. I mean, let's face facts. Now we've played some good defense. We've had good players. As of late, we've had issues roster-wise on the defensive side of the ball. Then you go ahead and you acquire people to help with that. And then you have injuries to keep them out of the equation, which you can't foresee. But I think Bills fans are okay with the defense maybe not being stellar. Now, it gives them something to talk about, but it's not something that shocks them. But when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, and we all know how the Bills Mafia feels about Josh Allen, when he struggles and the offense struggles, then you've got problems. Because the equation for this Bills team has been very, very simple. In the last 2 years, the Bills are, I believe, 15-1 when they score 30 points or more.
Okay.
They're 2-7 when they score 30 points or less. That's been the equation. In the last 2 weeks, there's been defensive struggles, but, they've kind of played at half a game where, they've been better in the second half and things like that, or got stops when they needed to. But the defense or the offensive side of the ball, not being able to score points, not being efficient, that has been a problem and something to look at. So I think that's the difference in this kind of lull. Just offensively, they haven't been very good.
Well, and you look at it, too, like watching that Sunday night game with the Falcons and the 49ers, how San Francisco just, they're using it with baling wire and duct tape and everything like that with that defense, how they were able to shut down Bijan, which Buffalo couldn't do, and they also took away the passing lanes of Penix. Imagine some people watching it are saying, hey, how come Buffalo couldn't do that?
Well, even with injuries, that San Francisco team's got some good talent on defense. They can get after it. They play well. They've got injuries. Nick Bosa out for the year with an ACL. Then Huff picks up the slack. Now Huff is out for 2 to 3 weeks with an injury. They're going to have to find somebody else at defensive end. Eventually, Warner. It'll eventually catch up to him. But still, they've got a decent amount of players on that side of the ball. And the other thing is this, and I don't think that, and it's going to kind of go into what we talk about later on as we get into kind of what I want to see out of the Bills after this two-game losing streak. San Francisco does certain things very, very well. When you look at their offense, their best player is Christian McCaffrey when he's healthy.
Right.
They line up, they play power sets, they run the football, and they control the line of scrimmage. They control the game. They control the game clock. And they don't put themselves in bad situations where they put extra stress on the defense. That's one thing about Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, I think, is quietly putting together one of the best coaching jobs in the league this year.
Agreed.
Because they know what they are, and they continue to do those things week after week. So, that's the difference, I think, in San Francisco and maybe Buffalo. We kind of got away from what we are. And statistically, through 6 games, it's pretty easy to see what we are as a team.
Which, again, is when you're scoring you're winning, and when you're not scoring, you're not winning.
But exactly. But when you look at offensive statistics right now through 6 games, Zig, the Bills are third in total yards with 2,270, fourth in points scored at 167, third in first downs with 139. Now they're 22nd. Now this is the telling factor. Okay, they're 22nd in pass attempts with 180.
Okay,
But they're still 11th in passing yards at 1,364, even though they're 22nd in attempts. They're 9th in touchdowns scored with 11, 16th in interceptions, which is we're going to get to that as well with 4, 11th in the turnovers as far as 11th worst. But here's the kicker, and this goes in line with San Francisco, and then also the pass attempt numbers. They're first in the NFL in rushing attempts and yards.
Okay.
They've had 186 rushing attempts for 906 yards. And when you look at this, and then you see the passing attempts put them 22nd in the league, but yet passing yards, they're still 11th. What are they doing? They're playing big personnel. They're running the football. They're controlling the line of scrimmage, and they're utilizing their play action when they can, or some schemed up plays in third down to where they're efficient in their passing game. And I don't think the Bills offensively are that far off. The problem is people clamor for a vertical stretch passing game. They want a receiver to take the top off of it. The Bills have been trying to force Keon Coleman into that role. And Joe Marino of Locked On has done such a wonderful job of kind of breaking that down as far as separation numbers and things like that. When you look at what he's doing, Keon Coleman cannot be your number one option in the passing game. He just can't. And I think over the last couple of games, we've gotten away from running the football. We've gotten away from our big sets. I was disappointed in the Atlanta game with Kincaid out that we didn't bring Alec Anderson back in.
Agreed.
And utilize Alec Anderson in those big sets along with Jackson Hawes and Dawson Knox. We felt we had to go somewhere else. Now, granted, Joshua Palmer was his first 2 receptions were big and he was balling before the injury, but still, the Bills have to base everything out of big personnel and their running game. And the last 2 games, we've kind of gotten away from it.
When you say they're forcing the ball to Coleman, is it because they're trying to utilize a size advantage, or is it one of these things where they feel like they're underutilizing him, trying to, I guess, maybe make up for lost time?
Well, there's a lot of things that go with it, Zig. I think some of it is size advantage. Some of it is validation of a pick.
Right.
Remember, you traded out of one.
Pick. Yep.
You traded out of the first round to move up to the first pick of the second round, and that is the first player taken off the board in the second round 2 years ago.
Right.
So you've got some validation. You got some, you think you got some size advantage. But the deal is this. I don't believe the routes that they're running with him and what they're utilizing him, how they're utilizing him and what they're doing with him actually does, take advantage of his strengths. It more is in line with his weaknesses, which doesn't make any sense to me. So I think for the Bills to get back on track, Keon's got to become a red zone guy. He's got to become a back shoulder guy. He's got to become a contested 50-50 ball guy. He's not going to run go balls down the sidelines and you're going to hit him. I mean, that's just not what he does, especially against a team like Atlanta, who's got the secondary they had. That was an easy day for them on defense.
Let me throw a name from the past and see if I'm off base or not. Plaxico Burress?
No, I think Plaxico is much more talented than Keon.
Okay.
Keon has size and strength, but Keon does not separate. Keon actually would do better in the slot position than he would outside, which is funny because we've drafted him to be an outside receiver.
Outside guy, yeah.
But if you look at numbers this year in his routes that he's run out of the slot, he's been the same or worse. But honestly, when you have guys that have issues with separation, usually you put them in the slot because you have built-in separation because of the way people play slot receivers in this league. They play off. So you've got some built-in separation. The problem is, where do you then put Shakir?
Right.
Because you can't play Shakir outside due to his arm length and his size. He's going to get choked off and press man. Okay. So, you're kind of in a bind there. And, whether Keon's, he's got some issues off the field. We know that he's been suspended for a first drive of a game earlier this year.
Right.
He had some issues last year, never really came back from that injury. Whether he has some, still needs to mature as a player, we'll see how that goes. But, obviously he came into camp. You could see he worked. People were excited. But he's kind of fallen back into old habits. But right now, in a situation where you've lost two, you can't week after week try to get him going because, it limits your offense because you got a guy that's trying to do things that he's not built to do.
He's Jerry Ostroski. I'm Zig Fracassi as we continue with 7 Days to Sunday, sponsored by FanDuel. What about the defensive side, Jerry? What do the numbers tell you there?
Obviously, if you look at the defense, there is one glaring difference between this defense last year and this year, and we'll get to that at the end. They're 17th in the NFL in points allowed, 137, 15 in yards allowed at 1,941. They've given up 114 first downs, which puts them 10th worst in the league. 11th in passing yards allowed, 9th in TDs allowed, 16th in interceptions. Here's the capper. I mean, rushing attempts, they're 22nd, where they've had 163 rushing attempts against them, but they're 31st in the league in rushing yards allowed with 938.
Ooh.
So obviously there's a lot of explosive runs. And really, honestly, the first game, Baltimore, Derrick Henry, the last game we played in Atlanta on Monday night, Bijan Robinson, they've got a chunk or a majority of that 938, those two alone.
Right.
But then you look at touchdowns allowed, 30th, they've allowed 9. They're giving up a league worst 5.8 yards per carry. But here's the difference, I think, between this year and last year, between the offense and the defense, is you look at the Bills' offense. They're 11th in the league in turnovers. This defense is 26th in takeaways. Last year, plus-minus ratio, differential, they were number 1 in the league the whole season. They were a very opportunistic defense. Even though they gave up some chunk plays and gave up some yards, they found ways to get stops when they needed to, and they took the football away and they protected it. A big difference through 6 games this year between last year and this year when you look at takeaway numbers. That's something that's got to get changed. And I would imagine if you really sat down in a room with McDermott and kind of, gave him the truth serum, so to speak, I would say probably, other than that rushing stuff, that's probably across the board, offense and defense combined, his biggest worry or his biggest issue is the lack of turnovers the defense is getting and the amount of turnovers the offense is giving up.
What do the returns of Ogunjobi and Hoyt mean to this defense?
Well, I think it's huge for the defense because it immediately infuses them with veteran, not only talent, but veteran leadership. I mean, both players have played a lot of football in the NFL. Both players are guys that bring talent to areas that we need help with. Maybe not so much Hoyt, but we'll talk about that when we get to our 3 things I'd like to see out of the Bills after this 6-game stretch and off of the bye week. But, Ogunjobi comes in and he'll play defensive tackle. We've had, rookies and practice squad call-ups the entire year, the first 6 games, manning those defensive tackle spots.
Right.
Now with Ed Oliver healthy, you bring Ogunjobi into the mix. You've got Daquan Jones if he's healthy. You've got 3 good, solid veterans, know how to play the run, know how to play D-tackle. Then you've got Deion Walker, who still struggles with some gap integrity, but has the ability and kind of the penchant to make splash plays. Right now, I think the biggest thing for Deion is this consistency, because right now it's either feast or famine. You're getting a 4-yard tackle for loss, or you're giving up, gap control, which hurts the defense. So I think both guys will really help this thing. I think Solomon will be the main guy that you see go down to the inactive list. And then Hoyt in those third down situations, pass rush packages, he'll be the guy that probably stands up over the guard that runs games and does different things like that, like Solomon did in the first half of the season. But, I think both guys are vital for this defense.
Jerry, you getting hungry yet?
I am getting hungry, Zig, and I'll tell you what's awesome about hungry when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I know that I can call one place, and that place is the Anchor Bar. And the amazing thing about the Anchor Bar is this: no matter where you are, their wings are never frozen, folks. They'll ship them to you. They ship them fresh, never frozen. The original home of the of the Buffalo Chicken Wing. Just an amazing place. And I know there's a lot of people out there. They got a husband or a boyfriend or somebody that wants to hammer down a plate of wings. Maybe they're not in the mood for wings. Maybe they want something a little different. Well, obviously you can see by the picture, they've got pizza, they got beef on weck, they got wraps, salads, everything you can imagine. Boneless wings, which I don't know how you have a boneless wing because I've never seen a boneless chicken. But
True.
I would imagine they call those. I would imagine boneless wings are also known as chicken nuggets.
Right.
But they have those as well if you don't want to mess with the bones. So they have all different types of stuff on the menu. The Anchor Bar has been around for a long, long time. The Buffalo Chicken Wing invented in 1964. Frank and Teresa Bellissimo, just a wonderful, wonderful group of people. You can go all across the country now and hit Anchor Bars. I'll hit the Anchor Bar in Frisco, Texas. John Fina, our partner, our guy here on Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, he'll be able to go in his hometown of Tucson to hit the Anchor Bar. Already, I believe, has, and that's kind of the Bills Bar of Tucson. So, yeah, lots of options across the country now. If you're not in Buffalo, if you're craving the original Buffalo wing, the Anchor Bar, and they are a proud sponsor of the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network.
Yeah, and they got one in, I think, Raleigh, too, North Carolina. So you got the triangle covered down there. A lot of Western New Yorkers there, Jerry, believe me.
And we are 7 days to Sunday here in the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. We are presented by FanDuel. We'll get into the FanDuel point spread of the Carolina game here in a little bit. We'll give you that FanDuel point spread as we break down that Carolina Panthers game coming up this Saturday this Sunday in Charlotte.
Yeah.
But obviously 1 Eastern time, noon Central. But just kind of wanted to get into, Zig, kind of 3 things I'd like to see a little bit about from the Bills as we get out of this 6-game stretch and off of the bye week.
Yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, Jerry Ostroski, 3 things he'd like to see.
First thing is this. Number 1, and you asked me about Michael Hoyt and what he brings to the table. I think Michael Hoyt's biggest thing that he brings to the Bills defense is positional versatility. This is a guy that was 300 pounds and played defensive tackle when he was at Yale. Got to the league, lost weight, became a really good pass rusher, and also played off-ball linebacker some for the Rams.
Yes, he
so
did.
He's done some off-ball linebacker stuff in the 3-4 and some different things. Myself personally, I do believe that the defensive line is actually getting better and better each week and doing a lot of really good things, even with some of the guys they've had to put out there in uniform. That being said, I'm not sure that our linebackers and our safeties are fitting the run very well. Buffalo's they've played base defense, a 4-3 base defense, gotten out of their nickel 4-2-5 more so this season than they have at any point over the last so many years with Sean McDermott. They play a ton of base, trying to stop that run. The problem is this, Zig, they don't really have the linebackers to do this. You got Matt Milano, who's hurt. You got Terrell Bernard, who is well undersized as a middle linebacker and really is a shoot the gap, deep Tampa 2 type linebacker, not a guy that's going to take on guards and things like that. Shaq Thompson, the veteran from Carolina that we signed this offseason, actually played the best middle linebacker, I think, for this team through the first 6 games. The thing that I think that Hoyt does for you, you've got Dorian Williams as well. If you wanted to, in run situations, you can play Michael Hoyt at that Sam linebacker, that kind of strong side off-ball linebacker. Then you've got Shaq Thompson as a middle linebacker, and then you could either train up Terrell Bernard to play the off-ball linebacker, the will or the weak side linebacker, which some people, and myself included, think that might be the plan moving forward, that when Milano moves on, maybe Terrell Bernard is the guy to take his spot, because Bernard's much more like Matt Milano than he is a true blue inside middle linebacker. If you want to stay bigger, instead of having Bernard on the field, play Dorian Williams. Now you've got 3 big physical linebackers along with 4 defensive linemen. So hopefully, we see maybe Michael Hoyt play some off-ball linebacker in base package personnel for the defense.
Okay, number 2.
Number 2 is I think it's time. Last year, we brought Micah Hyde on the practice squad. He stayed on the practice squad all offseason, and he was kind of there as kind of a mentor maybe an emergency guy, a break glass in case of just absolute disaster that you could put out there. But really, it was a mentorship, trying to get Cole Bishop up to speed. Damar Hamlin, through the first 6 games, Taylor Rapp has not played very good. Why, I have no idea. And really, to be honest with you, it could be age. It could be age and health. And I know it's hard for people to understand, Zig, because usually in an athlete, you'll see a gradual decline. Some don't gradually decline. Some just, one year they're fine, the next year it's nothing but problems.
Right.
For whatever reason, Rapp is struggling in the defensive secondary. I think it's time that we pulled Jordan Poyer up off that practice squad and gave him a good, solid look, and either start him or at least platoon him with
knows
Rapp.
The system, right?
Yeah, because I think that part of it, Zig, and you bring up a great point with the knowing the system. I do think that Rapp playing next to Bishop hurts Rapp a little bit.
How?
Because when he played next to Damar Hamlin, for all of Damar Hamlin's faults that he has, he did understand where he was supposed to be and what he was supposed to do.
Okay.
Bishop does, but he's still young and still is learning the intricacies of this kind of spot zone defense that McDermott likes to play. And, I think Rapp trying to make sure Bishop is taken care of could possibly be hampering
takes away
him
from
as
him,
well.
right?
Right,
Yeah.
because he's having to think not only for himself, but try to think a little bit for Bishop.
Right.
Poyer comes in and has no problem steering Bishop where he needs to be. I think it's that much experience in this defense. He's done it for a long, long time. He understands it. And I know Rapp has as well, but Poyer could probably coach it. So I think it's time to get the mothballs off of Jordan Poyer, get him involved, and see what he can bring to the team, and at least platoon him with Taylor Rapp to see if he has something left in the tank that we get some results that are a little bit better at safety than we've seen.
2 down, 1 to go. What's number 3 that Jerry wants to see?
And my third thing kind of goes in line with what we talked about with Keon Coleman, is that we're trying to force Keon Coleman into a spot or a situation to do something he's not either equipped to do or skilled to do or comfortable to do. And that's run vertical stuff. And I do believe that in this offense, we have enough talent at slot receiver. Shakir, Elijah Moore, if he comes back, you got Curtis Samuel when he is healthy. Now, right now, we're trading 2 for 2 or 3 for 2. We get him for 2 games in a uniform, and then he's back on the injured list for 2 or 3. But they've got to figure out a way to get some verticality and some vertical routes out of those slot receivers, some deep crossing routes, some deep middles and things like that. Right now, I believe Shakir is probably, I believe statistically, he is the best 3 to 5 yard route runner in the league. Most of his yardage comes on yak yards. He's a yards after catch guy as opposed to, catching the ball down the field. But I believe with the limitations we have on the outside in the vertical passing game, we can get vertical, but they've got to scheme up some of this for the slot receivers and not just run the shallow routes and the meshes and the things like that.
We continue on with 7 days to Sunday. Jerry Ostroski, Zig Fracassi, sponsored by FanDuel. Sunday, maybe we could call this the Bill Polian Bowl, since, of course, he ran both the Bills and also the Carolina Panthers. Of course, the game being played down in Charlotte, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff. It's on Fox. And don't look now, but the quarterback in all likelihood Sunday here, Jerry, is Andy Dalton, who, of course, has his lore in Buffalo history as the quarterback who helped end the Bills' 17-year playoff drought. We all remember that game in overtime. They beat Baltimore, the pass to the back of the end zone to Tyler Boyd. And then the next year, Jerry, I'll never forget when Cincinnati came to Highmark Stadium for the preseason game. Andy got a standing ovation.
Yes.
And I think Bills Mafia donated a ton of money to Andy's charitable foundation, too. So all of that said, it appears as though the Red Rifle is going to be the quarterback Sunday with Bryce Young hurt. And just for laughs, the Panthers sign Mike White to their practice squad, presumably to activate him in time for Sunday.
Right. So if there is any signals, now obviously we have helmet communication in the NFL, and we've got it in college football as well. But obviously, if there's any easy signals to pick up. They might want to change those this week because Mike White obviously knows those quarterback signals and the nuances of Josh Allen. So yes, me personally, I would much rather see Bryce Young take snaps than Andy Dalton. I think Andy Dalton is a very, very proven veteran. As we know, he's a long-time starter in the NFL. He's not going to make – I don't believe he's going to make the dumb mistake, so to speak. He's going to go ahead and take what's there, do what he's supposed to do, protect the football, and play well. So, but that's the situation we're in, Bills are laying 7.5. That line from FanDuel, FanDuel line of 7.5, over-under is 46.5. So they still have the Bills as favorites going into this game, as we would imagine. But, you look at Carolina, it's not like they're completely off the map, Zig. I mean, they're 4-3.
They won 3 in a row.
They won 3 in a row. Buffalo, very good off of bye weeks. And what'll be interesting to see is this. I mean, Josh Palmer with the ankle is listed as week to week. Dalton Kincaid with the oblique injury was labeled as day to day heading into this week after missing week 6 and then having the bye week 7. I would expect Dalton Kincaid to be out there. Obviously, they activated the 21-day window for Hairston. He is off the injury reserve, so he'll try to get back throughout time. But, you look at this game, Zig, and it's a prime example of strength versus strength. And when you come into this game, you've got to look at the ground game from both sides. I mean, you've got the Bills and Carolina both do a really, really good job of rushing the football. The Carolina Panthers, obviously, with Rico Dowdell, the former Dallas Cowboy, who put up huge numbers against the Cowboys, his old team. And then you got Chuba Hubbard. It's kind of a perfect 1-2 punch. Chuba, that more elusive speed guy. Rico Dowdell can run with power. I would expect both teams, especially with the Bills trying to get back in sync. And we talked about it earlier. When their offense is in sync, they're running the football with James Cook. They're doing those things. And again, we only had 3 things that I'd like to see. I guess I could add a fourth would be James Cook on the field in third down situations.
Yes.
And, I'd actually, Zig, would like to see, if Cook can catch the ball and also Ty Johnson.
Bless you.
Excuse me. I'd like to see both of them on the field in third down.
Yeah, I agree.
It gives you some flexibility.
I had Rico on my postgame show on SiriusXM NFL Radio Sunday, and I asked how big of an adjustment was it for him when Chuba Hubbard came back. He says, "Oh, it wasn't big at all because I love playing with him. So you get the idea that there's going to be enough carries to spread around there. So that could be a two-headed monster." And on the defensive side down there, Derek Brown is a beast at end. J.C. Horn, a couple of big interceptions against the Jets. Jerry, remember his dad, Joe Horn, a great receiver of the Saints for a lot of years. J.C.'s starting to live up to that first-round hype of a few years ago.
Exactly. I mean, Panthers coming off a 3-game winning streak. The Panthers have a pass defense that, now granted, let's not get crazy. It was the Jets,
right?
And it was Fields.
Yes,
but Carolina did just post 6 sacks.
That's
and
right.
You talked about the 2 interceptions by J.C. Horn in that Jets win. Obviously, they're playing with a lot of confidence, as is that Carolina offense, and maybe not so the passing game, but definitely the running game. I mean, that offensive line and those backs are highly confident as well. So, like I said, it's almost like spy versus spy. It's strength versus strength. I would expect Buffalo to lean into that run game heavy, set up play action, Maybe they do some design quarterback keepers with Josh Allen, plus you got James Cook. Hopefully we see Kincaid back, because if they establish that bully ball that they do with their big personnel, you set up that play action with Kincaid and Knox, and it helps you protect the football, possibly set up some verticality in the passing game. So, again, you paid the guy this offseason all that money. James Cook needs to be a very, very big piece of the game plan come Sunday against Carolina. Then, Carolina, obviously, with Andy Dalton, the veteran, he understands he's been a backup before. He's been a guy that's come in for injured quarterbacks.
Sure.
He understands what it means to stay on schedule. They can work the quick game, RPOs, and all that stuff. Obviously, they got their downhill running game with Dowdell and Hubbard. I think that, the Panthers are going to hope to get some momentum on defense and put a little bit of doubt in that Bills offense, and then stay ahead of schedule, not have long third down situations, win on those early downs. I think that's the recipe for Carolina going into this game.
Are you worried about the proverbial look ahead? As you know, KC's on the schedule next Sunday.
Right. I think one thing right now, and one thing that Joe Brady does every week on Twitter is when they do win, he puts up 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, meaning obviously this is the only game we worry about. So I know Kansas City's on the horizon. And
playing well again.
Right, playing well again. And obviously, Rashee Rice runs as fast on the field as he drives a car.
Wow.
Oh, I said that on sports radio today.
Yeah, I bet you did.
In a town with a lot of Chiefs fans.
Yeah,
I mean, say what you will about Andy Reid
and
his ability to win games and have innovative offenses and everything. It is the land of second, third, fourth, and fifth chances.
Yeah,
but that's just the way it goes.
That's
just the way it goes. And I said that, not you. but
Thanks,
but when you look at it, they can't be worried about Kansas City. I mean, that's their own animal.
That's right.
A lot like the Baltimore game, they don't match up at all with Kansas City. And if they win that game like they have in the past, it's going to be 30-something to 30-something. Hell, it might be 40-something to 40-something. It's just the way that game goes. And honestly, we have dominated Kansas City in the regular season of the last so many years. Who cares? It hasn't done anything.
No.
What's important is the playoffs. And we've got things that need to be fixed. And, there's a side of this fan base, Zig, and I'm sure you understand this. Mm-hmm. Whether they win by 50 or they win by 5, they're going to write it off as, well, you beat up the Carolina Panthers. Who cares?
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. You're supposed to win by 50 points. So the Bills are kind of in a lose-lose as far as that goes. But the thing that I do like is coming off the bye week, they're getting out of town.
That's a great point.
I've always felt that way as a player. When you struggle as a team, the best thing you can do to right the ship is get out of town. Get on a plane, get on the road, get out of town and go play on the road. And, obviously the Bills have that opportunity.
Quick look ahead. You got KC on the horizon. A couple weeks after that against Tampa, the Thursday night game at Houston, at Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. The ageless Flacco now is on board. Maybe Burrow's back by then. I don't know. A rematch with New England. You got Philly later. Not exactly an easy schedule as we peer ahead just a little bit.
No, I mean, there's some things on this schedule that concern me looking ahead. And obviously you got the Chiefs coming into town, which what they do offensively is just absolutely abysmal for this defense right now, especially with the way they've been playing and trying to just figure things out. And, another thing I'm going to say is this. I mean, I'd like to play a game, Zig, where we had our full gamut of players.
That'd be nice, right?
We're always hurt.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have everybody on the field. Obviously, it's a step forward this week with Hoyt and Ogunjobi, and I would be shocked if both of those guys weren't heavily involved in this game plan. After the Chiefs, you got the Dolphins in Miami. Obviously, they're having their situation. Buccaneers, man. And that's why it was so hard to lose these games because, you understood the latter half of the season was pretty tough.
Yep.
And, trying to win a number 1 seed, it was going to be difficult if you lost, a couple games in the first 6 weeks. I think a lot of us would have taken, 5-1 and that one loss being Baltimore.
Right.
But obviously we find a way to win that game and have ourselves in great position and then lose to New England in Atlanta. But you got the Buccaneers coming into town. Obviously, Mike Evans won't be available for that game. He's out for quite some time, but they still got Emeka Egbuka, who is probably the best young receiver in the league. I mean, amazing stuff out of him. The Titans, Week 12, the reason that game is so interesting is it's a Thursday night game, right?
Texans, yeah.
Right, Texans. And while their offense is not playing well at all, C.J. Stroud has regressed. Ever since it's the curse of the self-gloss, Zig.
Is that what this is?
Right, they had the interview.
Right.
And they asked him to put himself in a rating of where he rated amongst the NFL quarterbacks, and he actually put himself second after Patrick Mahomes. So, but Stroud had a tough night last night in Seattle.
Their line's bad, man.
Yeah, their line's not good. They tried to make it better this offseason. It's not good, but that is a Thursday night game. Then you got old man Rodgers coming into town and the Steelers, and we know what he can do in the passing game. The Bengals after that, I'm not sure that Burrow will be healthy. And then really the next big one you got to circle, and probably a game that's, if you look at the Patriots schedule, it's not very tough.
Nope.
Probably for the AFC East division.
Up there, too.
Yeah, up there. Whether you have a chance to maybe get that first or second seed, or you're a wild card. So that'll be a huge game. And then the Browns, that poses questions in itself. As bad as that offense is, that defense is equally just that good. And then hopefully by the time we get to week 15 or 17, the Eagles have figured out that they can rest everybody.
There you go.
And not do much. But yeah, so tough schedule coming up for the Bills. More opportunities to really take a stronghold in this league, but also a lot of opportunities to, be scrambling for wild card spots at the end of the year if you don't get things done.
7 days to Sunday. We continue, brought to you by FanDuel. Just quick whirl around, Jerry, around the AFC East, the Patriots. How about Mike Vrabel going back to Nashville against the team that fired him, who, oh, by the way, fired their coach a few days before, the guy who replaced him. So
yeah,
they go in there. They took care of business. Miami, there's a saying back in the day, ran for the bus. They did that against Cleveland. And then you got the other team, the Jets. How about their owner, Woody Johnson, saying, well, geez, if our quarterback could complete a pass, we'd have something. So,
well, I mean, that's
he's not lying.
No, he's not lying. And it's something that I think that the Jets fans need to understand. And it's something we talked about at length earlier in the year when we were talking about the AFC East. The culture's got to get right in New York before anything else, or should I say New Jersey? The culture. By the way, how far are you from that place?
Literally 5 miles.
5 miles?
Yes.
5 miles.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where they got to get that culture right, and it's not right, and they're going to, probably get the first or second pick in the draft. They'll have an opportunity to take a top quarterback if they want to. They'll be able to make some moves, but yeah, the Jets are in shambles. But I think Aaron Glenn is a good coach.
I do
and
too.
Woody Johnson would be an idiot to not have him around.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I think we've taken care of everything pretty much, have we not, sir?
Yes, sir. I think we feel good about it. I mean, kind of talked about the state of the Bills, got into this Carolina game, points of emphasis as far as the Panthers game on Sunday, what the Bills need to do, obviously laying 7.5 points, courtesy of FanDuel. It should be a good one. I think that the Bills will right the ship, and I do believe that we'll see some different things because I think it was pretty McDermott was pretty pointed after that last loss that some things need to change, and I'm sure they will, or maybe Joe Brady to Penn State's not so far-fetched after all.
Ooh, Jerry's start throwing some stuff out, and I'm sure the trade activity is going to get hot. You had some receivers let go this week, Ray McLeod, Tyler Lockett. I know Myers wants out of Vegas, so
well, Lockett's a Tulsa guy. I know the Lockett's very well. Lockett played at Booker T. Washington.
I love Tyler.
Yeah, as did his brothers, and they all went to Kansas State.
Kevin was great.
Lockett would have made sense about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just not what we need at this present moment. Now, that's the other thing. I mean, trade-wise, is there somebody out there that becomes available that would be advantageous for Bean to go get? We'll see. Maybe and this is the thing we got to look at as we get out of here on this edition of 7 Days of Sunday, presented by FanDuel, and obviously here with the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, powered by Believe. But I think the big thing you got to look at is with Hoyt coming back, if Hoyt shows what we think he is over the next game or two, does that give Bean enough confidence that if he wanted to move, because really to me, the one asset the Bills could move with Hoyt's addition to the roster is A.J. Epinesa.
Yes.
Like the Chargers need outside pass rush. There's a lot of teams that need outside pass rush. So could you move Epinesa to get an asset at wide receiver or cornerback or safety or something of an area of need? I personally think it's more along the lines of either wide receiver or safety.
Agreed.
I don't think that the problem is they've made asset, acquisitions for the cornerback spot. They got hurt. I mean, you can't just bring a guy in because you make a trade, you want to keep him around for a couple of years.
Exactly.
You don't just, bring him in for, 10 games and then shuttle him off. So really right now, probably wide receiver and possibly safety would be those two areas that you could maybe trade for somebody. And a lot of that revolves around Hoyt, and does that make AJ Epinesa expendable and things like that. So lots to look forward to over the next few weeks. So it could be some interesting things going.
Yeah, I agree. All around the league, too. So we'll see if any of these other teams that need pass rushers or corners or, like you say, wideouts wind up making those trades and what kind of value that they have at the trade deadline.
Exactly.
It's been a blast, my friend, as always.
As always, Zig, man, I hope the Bruins have scored a couple goals. I hope Brad hasn't gotten too many of them drawn into 5 and 10 minute majors and misconducts and all that. And
that's right.
Just be happy that all the, Barkov and everybody is hurt, so they're not playing tonight. But
that's true.
They still got enough talent that they can get things done.
Well, let's hope so. And they are the 2-time defending champs, and they got quite the culture down. It's amazing, too, just to finish the thought there. A few years ago, Florida was, it's a nice tourist destination.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to play there. But then you make a seismic hire with Zito as their GM. You make a big trade for your favorite, Kachuk. You bring in the perfect coach that fits them after they let Quenneville go, which was Maurice.
Right.
And then, Jerry, they're comprised of guys who were first-round picks that didn't live up to speed elsewhere, but they got into that culture, bought into that. That's why they're the model team. So maybe.
But you're missing the number one reason, Zig.
Okay, what would that be?
The fact that when they're on the road, their wives can take the kids to the beach and that they pay no state tax.
There you go.
No state tax. Those two things solidify it. So anyway, but hey, we appreciate you watching and listening. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. 7 days of Sunday here on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. As always, Zig, I'll give you the choice, the chance to go first.
Go Bills.
Much love. Go Bills.
Right, brother.
I'm still the same damn kid from Oklahoma. Same old dreams hanging off my shoulders. Wishing